All right, so if you've got a Bible, open up to Ecclesiastes chapter 9. That's where we're going to be today. We're going to go through the whole chapter, front to back, beginning to end, and it is not up here, so get your own Bible out and read it in a real paperback. If you want a Bible that is in the seat back in front of you, I believe page 477. How about that? That's very nice of your preacher. I want you to know that. So open up your Bibles to Ecclesiastes chapter 9, and as you're getting there, I want to tell you a story of one of the greatest lawyers who ever lived, okay? This is a man back in the 1800s, and he was, okay, so his client was somebody accused of murder. That's a bad deal. So how the story goes was this man was at a bar and got into an argument with this other man, and pistols were drawn. One man was shot in the gut and died because of his problems that issued from being shot in the gut. You don't want to do that. So he died. But this guy is accused of murder, and so this lawyer, the lawyer's name is Clement Valedzichem. So something like that. Look it up on your own. Clement V. That'll get you there. But he has the job of representing this man accused of murder, and their story is they're going to say he's not guilty, and the man who died accidentally shot himself upon trying to pull his pistol out, got it snagged on his clothes, and accidentally pulled the trigger, and the bullet went into his gut and killed himself. And so here was what Clement, the lawyer, here's what his plan was. He was going to reenact the event in the courtroom to try and prove that it is indeed possible to pull the gun out, accidentally pull the trigger, and shoot yourself in the gut. And upon doing this, when I say reenact, I mean exactly down to the T, where he pulls a loaded gun up in the courtroom, accidentally pulls the trigger, and shoots himself in the gut and dies because of the injuries. He got his defendant off. The guy was not lawyer of the century right there. I mean, that's the kind of dedication I want out of a lawyer. But the reason I tell you about Mr. Clement and his phenomenal lawyership, I don't know if that's the right word or not, is because it was a matter of life and death for many, many people. I mean, for the man who got killed in the bar fight in the beginning, obviously he died. So it's a matter of life or death whether or not he gets in that fight or not. And then the man who's accused of murder, it's a matter of life or death for him on if he goes to the gallows or gets his head cut off, or I don't know what the laws were at this time, or if he goes to prison forever. It's a matter of life and death for him. And then for Mr. Clement, our lawyer, it's a matter of life and death for him because, well, he shot himself. But it's a matter of life or death, where there's two options, and you're going to end up in one of them. Now, Solomon, what we're going to do today, chapter 9, is we're going to recap a lot of what's happened up to this point. And he's going to talk about specifically two areas, life and death. And he's just going to look at these two and say things that really we've heard before, but he repeats it and just tries to drive this idea home, tries to drive home the point that sometimes in this life it is a matter of life or death. And so he's going to discuss these two things. And so let's start off with what he talks about with death. And again, this is going to sound familiar, and if you haven't been here, it's going to be really good to catch you up real quick. Here's what Solomon sees about life. Death is unavoidable. I mean, you cannot avoid death. No matter what you do, no matter who you are, everybody at one point is going to die. Have I said this before? Have you guys heard this before maybe? That people are marching onward towards death and there's no stopping that. You are on a train headed straight towards death, and good luck stopping it. You will not stop it. You cannot slow down. You will be there whenever you are there. Death is unavoidable. No matter who you are, death comes to everyone. So here's how he starts it off. Verse 1, chapter 9, verse 1. He says this, "But all this I laid to heart, examining it all, how the righteous and the wise and their deeds are in the hands of God." Now, what he's saying right here is God is sovereign over everything. The righteous and the wicked, everything they do, it doesn't matter the person, everybody has to answer to God. He is above them all. Everything in this world is in God's hands. And here's what he says, "And whether it is love or hate, man does not know, both are before him." Now, when he says love and hate, he's not talking about a bipolar God who can't make up his mind. He's just saying love in our human perspective, our very limited perspective, love would be good things and hate would be bad things, okay? That is just how we view it. It doesn't reflect God's character. That reflects how we view events that happen to us that God is ultimately in control of. And so whether it's love, whether it be we live, or whether it's hate, whether we die, we do not know. Both are before us. Life and death stares in the face, and Solomon is going to talk about through the rest of this little beginning section is that everybody is going to experience both of those situations. Everybody will experience love, and right now, you and I, we're experiencing love because we're alive, we're breathing, we're talking, we're thinking. But then sometime, everybody, we're going to experience the hate side of that. We're all going to experience death. It's going to be not happy for us, but it's going to happen to everybody. And so he keeps on going. Verse 2. It is the same for all. It's the same for everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, and that's what he's going to say. Since the same event happens to the righteous. And what's the event he's talking about? It's death. We're all going to die. And he says, the same event happens to all, to the righteous and to the wicked, to the good and the evil, to the clean and the unclean, to one who sacrifices and to him who does not sacrifice. As the good one is, so is the sinner. And he who swears is as he who shuns an oath. He says, it doesn't matter how good you are or how bad you are, you're still going to die. Remember a couple weeks ago we talked about karma? How it's this idea of we do more good and we get good back. Well, that verse 2, I don't have it up there, I don't know what I'm pointing at. But verse 2, it completely destroys that mindset. Because if we think, if I'm going to do good, I'm going to get more good back, more long life, better life, Solomon says, that's not the way it happens. That's not the way this world is. It doesn't matter if you're good or bad. It doesn't matter if you're righteous, unrighteous, a sinner, if you're wicked, if you're good, if you're godly, if you're religious, if you're not religious. You're going to die just the same as everybody else. And Solomon just plain out puts this in our face. It doesn't matter how good you are. Your actions cannot further your life forever. Death is unavoidable. You can try to be the best person possible, but in the end, you will still die just like the wicked. Now here's verse 3. And this is an evil that is done, and all that is done under the sun, that the same event happens to all. And let's just stop there and talk for a second, because he talks about this idea that everybody dies, that death is unavoidable. It is this great evil, and it troubles him, and he's upset about it. He's ticked about it, and yeah, he perceives that it happens to him and everybody else. It happens to everybody who has ever lived, and not just every person, but if an organism exists, it will die. And you remember I don't know what law it is, but I remember it from some airplane or whatever, where everything that goes up must come down. That's what Solomon is saying. You're up right now. You're alive right now. You're going to come down as well. The same event happens to everybody. He says everybody's going to die, regardless of your age, of your race, of your gender, of your nationality, of your sexuality. It doesn't matter. You're going to die. Okay? I'm going to die. Have I hammered that in enough? We're going to die. Okay, so here it is. The next part of verse 4. He says, verse 3, sorry. The second half of verse 3. Also, the hearts of the children of man are full of evil, and madness is in their hearts while they live. Now this reminds us of what we read last week. Remember? He says, because the bad people live longer, because the bad people don't get punished in a timely fashion, the entire mindset of humanity is set to do evil. Because evil gets good back, people think being evil is good. And so what he's saying right here is everybody, all the mindset of the people is set to evil, but after that, they go to the dead. He says, don't worry about that, because eventually the most rotten of all the people, they're going to die just the same, okay? Justice will be served. Everybody is going to die no matter what, and you cannot stop it. Now here's verse 4. But he who is joined with all the living, the one who's still alive, you and I, the ones who still have breath in our lungs, the one who is joined with all the living, has hope. For a living dog is better than a dead lion. Now, I know you guys like your dogs. Again, I don't know why, but dogs in the ancient, I'm so sorry, you got really offended there, but the dogs in the ancient culture are the raccoons and the skunks and the possums of our modern world. They're the pests. They're the little rodents that dig around in the trash and are mangy and disgusting. And yet, the disgusting skunk is better, if it's alive, than a dead lion, than this majestic king of beasts, right? He says, it is better to be alive, no matter how lowly you are, than to be the highest rank, the most majestic beast, and yet be dead. It is better to be alive than it is to be dead, no matter how low you are, because, and verse 5 will give us the because. Here it is. For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing, and they have no more reward, for their memory of them is forgotten. He says, listen, you and I were alive no matter how poor or lowly we are. We still know that we will die. You know what the dead know? Nothing, because they're dead. Now, it says they're dead, so they don't know anything else. Their conscience, their personality, it dies with them with the grave. You and I, we're still alive. We know the little bit that we will die. Now, think of it like this. You ever taken a test before? Been in school, had to take a test? It's the worst. You go in, and it's better to know that the test is on a certain day. Anybody who walked into a classroom and they said, all right, put all your books underneath your table and we're going to take a test. And you had no idea and you didn't prepare, you didn't study, and you go in there and you flunk it. It is better to know that you have a test than to not know you have a test. That's what Solomon is saying. It is better to know, even if the knowledge is bleak that you're going to die, it is better to know that than rather to know nothing. Now he keeps on driving home this illustration, this analogy. For their love, the person who has died, their love and their hate and their envy have already perished, and forever they no more share in all that is done under the sun. Now, a reason he points out those three emotions, love, hate, and envy, those are some of the strongest emotions that humans experience. You know what I'm talking about? Because I've seen stories of people who have killed because of love. I have seen stories of people who have killed because of hate. And I've seen stories of people who have killed because of envy. That is a really strong emotion that results in a really strong, drastic event, drastic action. So he says these incredibly potent, incredibly strong emotions, no matter how strong they are, die when the person does. Now, I know a lot of us don't like to think about this because we say, oh, my love for you will transcend the grave. No, it won't. So that's what Solomon says. He says it does not. And if you think, well, they're up in heaven looking down on me, if somebody is in heaven, they're not looking back on this earth. They've got God to look at. They don't care about you. No offense. They got God. He's better than you. God will care about you. They're going to be worried about God. And if they're in hell, the opposite direction, they're going to be more worried about the torture and the torment they're going over than looking up and wondering what's going on, right? He says their love and their hate and their envy does not remain on this earth, in this realm, after they die. And you know what's going to happen? You are going to die. That's what Solomon is driving home, trying to bring this reality home with you, trying to bring it to resonate with you that everybody, while they live under the sun, is marching towards death and cannot avoid that. Now, I'm going to look at a couple verses that he's already said this about, and I've got these up here because it's not in chapter 9. I'm pretty nice. So, Ecclesiastes chapter 2, and yet I perceive that the same event happens to all of them, death. And then chapter 3, a time to be born and a time to die. And then a little bit later, all go to one place. All are from the dust, and to the dust shall they return. He's just repeating the same fact over and over again, that death, it is unavoidable for everybody that lives. We are marching towards death every single day. And right now it is 10:40. We are 40 minutes closer to death than we were when we started this. We are closer to death than when we started. And that's what Solomon wants to bring home to you. We are marching towards death. Now, I know that's depressing, but wait until you hear about life. If death is unavoidable, well, life is unpredictable. Life is unpredictable. We cannot know what will happen. We cannot predict, we cannot know, we cannot prepare enough for what will happen. Now, he started this off, backtrack with me to verse 1, Ecclesiastes 9:1. But all this I laid to heart, examining it all, how the righteous and the wise and their deeds are in the hands of God. God is sovereign over all. He's the one who decides everything. And whether it is love or hate, man does not know. Both are before him. Now again, love or hate, we looked at that in the context of death and life, but that can also apply to just any regular everyday event, whether it is a pleasant event or an unpleasant event, whether it's good for us or it's bad for us. Both of them lie before us. We don't know which will happen to us. We don't know if tomorrow's going to be good or if tomorrow's going to be bad. We just simply don't know. And so next we're going to look at verses 11 all the way through verse 18. And what he's going to do in there, he's going to look at two different areas that we think, that humans think, this is going to guarantee my success. This is going to guarantee the love. This is going to guarantee my happiness. And he's going to break it down and say, it doesn't work that way. You don't know. No matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, you can never know what's going to happen in life. Life is unpredictable. So here it is. First of all, he's going to point out that our abilities don't guarantee success. Our abilities, no matter how good you are at something, that does not guarantee success in your field. Because you can be the best shoemaker, for example, the best cobbler, and yet get put out of business by somebody who's a worse shoemaker than you because That's just the way life is. That's what Solomon is trying to get at. It doesn't matter how high-skilled you are, sometimes, and a lot of times, that does not guarantee success. Sometimes you might get success, but it does not promise it. It does not guarantee it for everybody. And now this is really hard for us to grapple because we live in a society that says, work hard and you can live the American dream, right? If you work hard and you are good at your work, you will get enough money, you'll have the white picket fence, and everything's going to work out for you. And Solomon says the American dream is a myth. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't guarantee success. I think you should be good at stuff. I think you should try and be good at stuff, but know that your abilities and how good you are does not guarantee you success. It doesn't guarantee that things are going to go well for you. And again, remember karma, do good, get good back. That verse and verse 2, they simply show that things don't always work out for you. Do all you can, do all the good that you can, but in the end, you don't know what's going to happen. Life is still unpredictable. No matter your abilities, you cannot guarantee success. So check this out with me, verse 11. Again I saw, chapter 9, verse 11, again I saw under the sun, the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor the bread to the wise, nor the riches to the intelligent, nor favor to those who have knowledge, but time and chance happen to them all. Because we expect in the Olympics Usain Bolt to win every single race, right? Because the man is a machine. He can run faster than any other human. He's got the record. He's the fastest. We expect him to win. Solomon says it doesn't always work out that way. We expect Gordon Ramsay to make the best food, but it doesn't always work out that way. We expect Bill Gates to be the richest man because he's smart, but it doesn't always work out that way. He says all of your abilities, even though you're great at something, doesn't always guarantee success. The race is not guaranteed to the fastest. The battle is not guaranteed to the strongest. You see, it doesn't always give us the answers we want. And Solomon points out that our abilities don't grant success. Now here's, well, first of all, let's look at that. He says chance and time and chance happen to all of them. That's not talking about luck. That's not saying, oh, it's just, depends on which way the winds are blowing that day. No, time and chance, it's time and unpleasant events happen to all of them. And he says, everybody is going to go through unpleasant events, and that can skew off the life, and that can change the direction so that you might not win the race that you should win, or you might not do the thing that you should do. Your abilities do not guarantee success because a simple time or event can erode them and twist it around into a different way. Now here's why. Verse 12. For man does not know his time, like fish that are taken in an evil net, and like birds that are caught in a snare, so the children of men are snared at an evil time when it suddenly falls upon them. Now he says, your abilities, imagine you're a fish, okay? You're in a pond out here, you're a little bluegill, you're trying to feed your family. You got a family of 4 back home and back in the mud, and you're going to try and go get some worms and go bring it home and give to your family, and sometimes when you find a worm, it's got a hook in it. Does that depend on your abilities? Does that depend on your swimming capabilities? No, that's just how it happens. Sometimes you draw the short straw, and sometimes you bite the worm that has the hook in it. And it's just okay, we're good. It doesn't always guarantee success. Your abilities don't guarantee success is what he's driving home. And he points out, sometimes you're a bee and you're gone out and you got some pollen and you're trying to bring it back home so you can, make the queen happy, and you're going to have some honey later on that somebody's going to steal from you. But sometimes you get caught in a spider's web, and then the spider comes and wraps you up in a cocoon and you die. And he says, sometimes time and chance happen to everybody. Sometimes you're doing all you can, working as hard as you can. You have great abilities, but sometimes it just doesn't work out because your abilities don't guarantee success. But here's what you're thinking right now. I know what you're thinking, because in the business world, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Anybody else? Anybody else gotten a job because you knew an uncle, cousin, nephew, and a job that you wanted, right? He says, and a lot of people think it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's the opportunities you have, and Solomon says, no, the opportunities don't guarantee success either. You can work as hard as you can, be as good as you can, but that doesn't guarantee success. And even then, the opportunities, the time and chance that happens, those don't guarantee success. Who you know does not always guarantee the pleasantness that happens. Now, instead of telling you in plain words like he has been, what's going to happen in verses 13 through 18, he's going to give a little parable. He's going to tell us a little story. So let's read this story and just watch the narrative unfold. Here he sets the scene in verses 13 and verse 14. I have also seen this example of wisdom under the sun, and it seemed great to me. There is a little city with a few men in it, and a great king came against it and besieged it, and building great siege work against it. So we have this picture of this tiny little town, maybe like Albion, and then this other bigger town, maybe like Evansville, with a king come and surround Albion. Now, when he says besiege, that doesn't mean he's going in and just ransacking it and destroying it. Instead, what they're doing is they're surrounding us, cutting off all the trade routes, cutting off all the railroads, all the highways, all of the internet, and he's saying, we're just going to starve them out. We're going to surround it, and we're going to starve them out until they starve, go in and destroy the weaklings who cannot fight because they're malnourished at this point. They're just going to wait them out and hold off everybody else so that nobody can get in or out, and just surround us and put us in a bubble until they can come in and easily take us over. And so this is a bad situation. This is guaranteed death, but, verse 15 and 16, but there was found in it a poor but wise man, and by his wisdom he delivered the city, and yet no one remembered that poor man. But I say that wisdom is better than might, though the poor man's wisdom is despised and his words are not heard. And so we're besieged, we're surrounded, we can't go anywhere, nobody can get here, we can't have outside communication, we don't have food coming in, and then there's this poor guy, this guy that everybody knows as a homeless dope who's got this idea to save the city. And whether or not, we don't know, but the stories, how Solomon puts it, at first it looks like he saves the city. He has the ability to save the city, and he does it. And then that last verse, verse 16, it says, yet he was despised and his words were not heard. He has the way to save the city and people ignore him because he's poor and nobody trusts him. Even though he's wise, he's poor and nobody trusts him. And the city gets taken over. And now here's verses 17 and 18. The words of the wise heard in quiet are better than the shouting of a ruler among fools. He says the wise man, this poor man, he has the ability to save the city, and he's trying to tell people, but they're shutting him up and they're saying, no, I don't want to listen to you. And instead they're listening to the loud, dumb king. They're listening to the loudest guy who's got the dumbest idea, but because he's louder than the wise man, they follow him. And verse 18 sums this up. Wisdom is better than the weapons of war. Wisdom can save the city, but one sinner destroys much good. He says all that can be undone by one dope, one loud idiot. And you see, your opportunities, even if you have the ability and the opportunity to save the city, it doesn't guarantee success for you guys. And so Solomon, he just brings us in. Life is unpredictable. We don't know what tomorrow will hold, if it'll be good, if it will be bad, if it'll be blessing or if it'll be cursed, if it'll be pleasant or unpleasant. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how hard you work or the opportunities you get thrown into, it doesn't guarantee success. So both life and death are out of our hands, so what are we going to do? If life and death are both out of our hands, what are we going to do while we still have life? Because being alive is better than being dead, so we still have life, we still have hope. What are we going to do? And this is what we talked about last week and a few weeks before, and this is what Solomon drives home again. Enjoy life. If you know that you're marching towards death and you don't know what tomorrow holds, while you can, right this second, enjoy the life that God has given you. Take what God has granted you and enjoy it. Now here's what he's going to do. He said this before. I'll put it up here for you. Ecclesiastes 2:24. There is nothing better for a person than that he should eat and drink and find enjoyment in his toil. This also I saw is from the hand of God. There's nothing better for you to do in light of life being unpredictable and death being unavoidable than to enjoy life while we have it. So enjoy God's gift of life. Now, we're going to look at verses 7 through 10. And he gives us 4 examples of ways to enjoy life. So here's verse 7. Go eat your bread with joy and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already approved of what you're doing, of what you do. He says, go and enjoy a good meal with your family. I'm not McDonald's in the drive-thru in the back seat with all of you crammed into the car. Go and make some hamburger helper or sirloin steak, sit around a table with some mashed potatoes, and enjoy dinner with your family and with your friends. Enjoy a good meal. And then, how about verse 8? Let your garments be always white. Let not oil be lacking on your head. Now, there's some disagreement on what this verse reflects and what it points to. What I think it points to is wear whatever you want. If you want to dress up and be fancy, wear a three-piece suit, wear a tuxedo to work, go right at it. Do it. If you want to be lazy and wear a robe and sweatpants to work, you go right at it and just wear whatever you want. And whenever people look at you like you're an idiot, you look at them like they're an idiot because they're not wearing what they want. Enjoy your life by wearing whatever you want. And then how about this one? This is verse 9, enjoy life with the wife whom you love all the days of your vain life that he has given you under the sun, because that is your portion in life and in your toil at which you toil under the sun. Married couples, go out on a romantic date and do all the things that are associated with a romantic date. Get the kids a babysitter and go be alone together, okay? Enjoy God's gift to you. And I have this last one, verse 10. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with your might. For there is no work or thought or knowledge or wisdom in Sheol, in the place of the dead, in the grave to which you are going. Find a hobby, get good at it, and enjoy doing it. Go make yourself an erector set, or get yourself a model train, or learn how to knit, learn how to whittle. Do something. If you want to learn how to solve a Rubik's Cube, you call me up. We'll have a good time. I'll teach you, and it's a good, fun hobby. Find a hobby and get good at it and enjoy the life that God has given you. That's the best that we can do in this life, and that is how we can worship God. If you guys want to come up and play, life is unpredictable. No matter how hard you work or no matter what situations you're in, you cannot guarantee success. You cannot guarantee blessings for your life. And in this life, we are ever marching towards death. It is unavoidable. No matter how hard you try, you cannot avoid it. So, enjoy the life you have. And Solomon would argue that it is a matter of life and death for you to enjoy your life. So go out, enjoy the life that God has given you.